The second Julia walked out the front door, pulling her designer suitcase behind her like she was heading to a five-star resort, I knew exactly what I needed to do next. She stopped at the doorway and turned around, wearing that polished smile she saved for social media. It was the same smile she used in her posts when she tried to convince her followers to buy overpriced fitness powder and pretend it was a life-changing miracle. She spoke like she was reading lines from a script. She said she would send someone to pick up the rest of her things. She said her lawyer would contact me about the house. While she talked, she adjusted her yoga pants, the kind that cost more than a lot of people's rent. I did not cry. I did not beg. I did not even blink. I just measured the moment like a man reading a clock. Julia expected a reaction. She wanted tears. She wanted me to fall apart, so she could tell herself she had won. She wanted to walk away feeling powerful. Instead, I gave her calm. I told her to take her time. I told her I was not going anywhere. She tilted her head like she was confused. Her eyes searched my face, waiting for me to crack. But I was already 3 moves ahead. For 12 years, the nice husband act had worked. It kept the peace. It kept the marriage running even when it was not healthy. It made Julia comfortable. It made her careless. It made her believe I was harmless. That version of me had done its job. Now it was time for something else. My name is Nick Tarrant. Years ago, I was a professional boxer. Later, I discovered I had a talent for building smart home security systems. That sounds like a strange change, but it made sense for me. Boxing taught me patience. It taught me how to watch small details. It taught me timing. It taught me how to stay calm when someone tried to hurt me. Those skills are not only useful in a ring. They are useful in a quiet suburban war, too. Julia thought she was clever. She believed she could sneak around without me noticing. Her affair partner was Blake Jensen, a loud gym owner with a shiny life. He drove his Tesla through town like he wanted strangers to clap for him. Everything about him looked like he was trying out for a reality show. Julia assumed I was too busy with wires, sensors, and software to notice her behavior. She was wrong. The signs had been there for months. Late-night texting sessions that stopped the moment I walked into a room. Sudden interest in intense fitness training, far beyond what she ever cared about before. New lingerie that never showed up in our bedroom. More time at the gym and less time at home. Always with a reason ready. And then there were the people around her. Her sister Erica started visiting more often, and she asked sharp questions about my finances. She pretended it was curiosity, but it felt like an interview. Julia's friends Paige and Lacey came over for their wine nights. They whispered in the kitchen, and their conversation always died when I entered the room. Their eyes did that guilty flicker people do when they are hiding something. Julia's phone became locked with a password, even though she had left it lying around for years like it was nothing. All of that told me something was happening. But the real proof came 3 weeks ago. Julia was making her morning smoothie. Her smartwatch lit up with a message. She must have forgotten I was behind her. I saw the text before she could hide her wrist. It said, "Can't wait to see you tonight. Your husband still clueless?" Then another message popped up from Blake. He said something that made my jaw tighten. Poor guy has no idea what he's missing. You're incredible. That was the moment I stopped guessing. That was the moment I started building my case. I documented everything. Screenshots, dates, times, location data. And I had an advantage Julia never considered. The smart home system in our house was designed by me. I installed it. I maintained it. I controlled the network. Every connected device in that house, cameras, door sensors, app logins, location settings, even some shared accounts, ran through systems I understood better than anyone. Julia did not know that her digital life was leaving a trail behind her like footprints in wet cement. The night before she left, I found a hidden folder on her tablet. Inside were hotel receipts from the downtown Marriott. Inside were gym selfies that were clearly meant for someone special, not for her general audience. Inside was the photo that made my hands shake. Julia and Blake in my bedroom. On the sheets I bought for our anniversary. At least she made the bed afterward. I guess she did not want to wrinkle the expensive Egyptian cotton I paid for. That same night, my mother called. Her voice has always sounded rough, like gravel, and her timing is always sharp. She said Julia finally left, like it was something she expected. I asked how she knew. Mom said Erica posted something vague online about supporting family through hard transitions. Erica has never been good at keeping secrets. Mom laughed, but it was not a happy laugh. She said she was surprised it took this long. She said Julia had been searching for an upgrade since the day we got married. I thanked Mom for her support, even though her support came wrapped in harsh truth. Mom told me I would be fine. She told me I was tougher than I acted. Then she reminded me of a story from school. A kid named Tommy Brennan stole my lunch money for 3 weeks straight. I remembered. I did not fight him right away. I waited. I watched. I learned his habits. Then I cornered him behind the school with his own stolen money and a list of every kid he bullied. By the end of that talk, Tommy returned what he stole and apologized to everyone. Mom told me I was going to need that same mindset again. She was right, like always. The next morning, I sat in the kitchen with coffee. I drank from the mug Julia gave me last Christmas. It said the world's okayest husband. I stared at the words and felt something cold settle in my chest. Then I reviewed my options. The smart home system gave me access to almost everything. Security footage, shared device logins, some financial accounts connected through devices, and even GPS tracking tied to the family plan on Julia's car, which she forgot about. My phone buzzed. It was a message from my best friend Ron. Ron owns Murphy's Sports Bar downtown. We have been friends since high school. Back then, I fought for money. Ron talked his way out of trouble using charm and jokes. Ron had seen me train for fights. He watched me study opponents until I knew their weak points better than they did. Ron wrote that he heard Julia was making interesting new friends. He asked if I was doing okay. I wrote back that I was still breathing and not in jail, so I was doing fantastic. Ron understood what that meant. He asked if I needed anything. I told him to keep his ears open. Our town loves gossip. Ron said he would. That morning, I dug deeper into Julia's online life. She had 43,000 followers, all buying her story about authentic fitness and wellness. She promoted clean living, honest living, strong living. The irony almost made me laugh. She partnered with Blake's gym, Apex Fitness. She taught wellness workshops that were basically excuses to show off expensive workout clothes and pose for attention. She sold authenticity while lying to everyone who mattered. Around noon, my business partner Dave called. His voice sounded tight. He told me Julia stopped by the office. I asked why. Dave said she asked about client contracts, especially the Morrison account. She claimed she was worried about irregular billing. The Morrison account was our biggest client, a luxury housing development. I installed smart systems in over 200 homes for them. The work was clean and documented. Every invoice matched. Every expense was tracked. So Julia asking about billing was not about concern. It was about leverage. I asked Dave what he told her. Dave said he told her nothing, but he also said something important. Julia seemed to know more about our internal process than she should. That made my mind sharpen. Julia never cared about my work before. She only complained I worked too much. So someone had been feeding her information. I told Dave not to worry. I told him Julia was fishing, and she had nothing. Dave suggested we tighten security anyway. I told him I was already doing it. After the call, I pulled up security footage from our home office. There it was. 3 weeks ago, while I was at a client meeting, Erica sat at my desk. Erica was supposed to be helping organize filing. She works as a tech consultant and always acts like she is smarter than everyone in the room. The footage showed her taking photos of documents with her phone. So that was the truth. This betrayal was not only Julia cheating. It was a coordinated attempt to destroy my business and take everything. My phone rang. Julia. She did not greet me. She jumped straight to business. She said we needed to discuss finances. Then she said she moved most of our savings into a separate account for safekeeping. I asked safekeeping from what? She said for me doing something stupid in anger. She claimed she knew how I got when I was upset. That almost made me laugh out loud. In 12 years, I never yelled at her. I never threw anything. I never slammed a door. But in her story, I was the dangerous one. I asked which account. She said the vacation fund, and she claimed she would make sure I had enough for my immediate needs. The vacation fund. That account was supposed to hold $47,000. I contributed for 2 years to save for a Europe trip she wanted. I told her it was considerate. She said she was not trying to be cruel. She said separation was better while we worked out details. I agreed. Separation was definitely the way to go. After she hung up, I opened my banking app. The vacation account was drained. But Julia made one critical mistake. She transferred money to an account still linked to our shared financial management system, connected through devices and permissions I controlled. It took me 4 minutes to reverse the transfer and lock her out of every shared account. By the time she tried to use that money for a celebration dinner with Blake, she would learn a hard lesson. I poured another cup of coffee. Then I opened my laptop. Time to start phase 1 of what I privately called the Julia Project. First step, reconnaissance. Blake Jensen's social media was even worse than I expected. Endless photos of expensive cars. Screenshots of gym success stories. Selfies showing off a steroid-inflated body. The man had the subtlety of a flashing sign. The most important detail came quickly. Blake was married. His wife, Amanda, appeared in older photos. Recent posts had none of her. I dug further. Amanda Jensen worked as a nurse at Mercy General. She had 2 kids from a previous marriage. So Blake was cheating on his wife with my wife, and neither woman seemed to realize the full situation. That was about to change. Before I could decide my next move, my doorbell rang. I checked the security camera. Erica stood on my porch holding a flash drive. I opened the door, but did not invite her in. I greeted her like she was a stranger. Erica said we needed to talk, and she had something I needed to see. She looked nervous, which was rare for her. Erica always acted confident. She was the educated sister, the one with a career. Julia focused her energy on building a lifestyle and finding people to support it. I told Erica I was listening. Erica said, not outside. I hesitated, then let her in. She sat on my couch, the same couch Julia used during her wine nights, like she owned the world. Erica fidgeted with the flash drive. She said she knew about Julia and Blake. I congratulated her and told her she was about 3 months behind me. Her eyes widened. She asked if I knew. I reminded her I build security systems for a living. I asked if she truly believed I would miss my own wife sneaking around. Then Erica asked why I did not stop it. I told her I was gathering evidence. Then I added something sharp. I told her she should understand that, since she had been helping Julia gather evidence against me. The color drained from her face. She tried to deny it. So I gave her a date and time. 3 weeks ago, Tuesday afternoon, she was in my office photographing client files while I was away. I asked if she wanted me to pull up the footage. Her confidence cracked. She said Julia told her I was hiding assets and planning to leave Julia with nothing. Erica said Julia was scared. I answered that Julia was scared enough to empty accounts and move in with her boyfriend. Erica said she was protecting her sister. I corrected her. I told her she was helping her sister commit corporate spying. Erica held up the flash drive. She said it contained copies of everything she found: financial records, client information, personal documents. She said Julia wanted her to give it to Julia's lawyer, but Erica thought I should see it first. How generous, I said. Then Erica revealed more. She said Julia planned this for months. Julia already filed early divorce paperwork. And Julia planned to accuse me of emotional abuse and financial control. I watched Erica like I used to watch fighters before a match. Her fear was real. But it was not only fear of me. She wanted something. I asked what she wanted. Erica said she wanted a deal. There it was. She offered to testify that Julia asked her to spy on me. She offered to admit the information was gathered illegally and could not be used in court. In exchange, she wanted a piece of my business. I stared at her. She wanted to be rewarded for helping my wife try to ruin me. Erica called it a mutually beneficial arrangement. She claimed she understood technology and business law. She claimed she needed a new career path. Her audacity almost impressed me. I took the flash drive and told her I would think about it. Erica warned me not to wait too long. Julia was meeting her lawyer the next morning. After Erica left, I plugged in the flash drive and reviewed it. Erica was not lying. The files were detailed. Financial records, client contracts, copies of emails I believed were private. Julia was thorough. But Julia made a fatal mistake. In her hunger to find proof against me, she documented her own illegal behavior. Screenshots of accounts, copies of confidential client data, recorded calls between her and Blake discussing plans to take everything from me. I leaned back and smiled for the first time in weeks. Julia believed she was playing chess. But she had been playing a simpler game. Now it was time to show her the difference. The next morning, I woke up with the calm clarity that comes when you have a plan. Julia always underestimated me. To her, I was the quiet husband who fixed her computer and nodded politely while she complained. She had no idea the same methodical thinking that made me good at security systems also made me dangerous when pushed. My phone showed missed calls from Julia between midnight and 2 in the morning. 3 voicemails told a story. First, there was a problem with her bank card. Second, she accused me of messing with the accounts and demanded I fix it. Third, she threatened that her lawyer would hear about my behavior. I poured coffee and called Ron. Ron answered like he always did. He asked what the plan was. I told him I needed him to watch Apex Fitness around 6 in the evening. I wanted to see who arrived. Ron asked if he could do it without trouble. Ron said he had been not starting trouble for 40 years, and he was a professional. Then I went to my office to meet Dave. The Morrison project still mattered. I needed normal routines to continue. Dave looked worried. He said Julia called, trying to schedule a meeting with our team. Dave told her she had no authority, but he warned she sounded confident, like she had leverage. I showed Dave the flash drive evidence. Dave's eyes widened as he watched recorded calls and saw stolen documents. He asked what I would do. I told him first we would protect clients. We would inform them there was a data breach attempt. We would outline steps to secure their information. Then we would let Julia destroy herself with her own actions. That morning, I called major clients. I told them there was a security breach attempt, and we were handling it. Most were understanding. Spying and sabotage happen in tech industries. My reputation mattered, and I had earned trust over years. The Morrison Group was especially supportive. Their project manager told me they trusted me and asked me to handle my personal life however I needed. By lunch, clients had confirmed their confidence in our company. Julia's attempt to harm my business collapsed before it began. Then my phone buzzed. An unknown number. It was Blake. He said we needed to talk. I asked about what. He suggested meeting at Apex Fitness at 7. He wrote it was man-to-man. I replied I would think about it. Then I called Ron. I told him Blake wanted a meeting and I would give Blake what he wanted. Ron said it sounded like trouble. I told him it was the best kind. That afternoon, I prepared. My smart home system linked to a mobile app. It allowed remote control and monitoring. More importantly, Julia's devices were still tied to the family account. She forgot to disconnect them when she stormed out. At 6:30, I parked across from Apex Fitness and watched the crowd arrive. The gym attracted an upscale group: lawyers, real estate agents, influencers. People who wanted to be seen exercising more than they wanted to exercise. At 6:45, Julia's car arrived. She wore her most expensive workout set. Blake greeted her at the entrance and kissed her like he had no shame. They believed they were celebrating. Julia believed she stole my savings and would soon own half my life. Blake probably believed he found a wealthy girlfriend who would fund his lifestyle. It was time to correct their expectations. 6 months earlier, Blake asked me for a security consultation at his gym. He wanted a sound system upgrade. He refused professional installation costs. I helped set it up as a favor, partly because I thought it might become a client relationship. That favor gave me something valuable. Administrative access. A backdoor. I activated the sound system. Blake and Julia sat at the juice bar, toasting with protein shakes, when their private conversation suddenly broadcast through every speaker. Julia's voice filled the gym. She said she could not believe how easy it was. She said Nick never suspected anything. Blake asked about the money. Julia said she moved $47,000 to start, and there was more coming. She said after divorce, she would own half my business. The gym went silent. People looked around confused. Then Blake praised her, saying most women would feel guilty. Julia laughed and said guilty was not her problem. She said I deserved it. She called me boring and predictable. She insulted me in ways that made people around them slowly realize what they were hearing was real. Phones came out. In our world, public shame spreads faster than truth. Julia finally understood what was happening when she heard herself saying that I thought she was at her sister's place each night while she was with Blake. Her face went pale. Blake jumped up and scrambled to check equipment, but it was too late. The damage was done. I ended the broadcast. Then I walked into the gym. I moved through the crowd like I belonged there. Julia spotted me. Her expression flipped from embarrassment to rage. She accused me of doing it. I played innocent. I said I came to work out. I looked around and asked if something was wrong. Blake stepped between us, puffing himself up like a bird trying to look bigger. He demanded we talk outside. I told him we were talking just fine right there. Then I pulled out my phone and showed Julia the banking app. I told her to check her account balance. She grabbed her phone, and I watched her face change as she realized the money was gone. She claimed I could not do that. She called it our money. I corrected her. It was my money, protected by a court order. In truth, I filed paperwork days earlier because I predicted she would try something like this. Blake accused me of theft. I told him it was marriage. Shared property laws work both ways. Julia moved money, without my consent. I moved it back. I looked at the crowd and asked if Blake thought I had no right to protect my finances. Blake said I was humiliating Julia. I told him I was not. They humiliated themselves. I simply made sure everyone heard it. Julia cried angry tears. She threatened I would regret it. She claimed her lawyer would destroy me. I asked with what? Illegally stolen evidence. Recorded conversations proving corporate spying. I added that I had recordings too, including one where Julia and Erica discussed planting fake evidence in my office. That froze her. She did not know I knew about Erica's role. She called me a liar. So I told her Erica visited me yesterday with a flash drive full of everything. I said Julia documented her crimes beautifully. The crowd loved it. Suburban crowds love watching someone else's life fall apart. I walked out. I left them in front of witnesses who were already posting clips online. Julia's carefully built influencer image cracked in real time. Ron waited outside in the parking lot, leaning on his truck with a grin. He said it was better than cable. I told him phase 1 was done. Ron asked about phase 2. I looked back through the glass. Blake argued with staff. Julia sat with her head in her hands. I said phase 2 was when things became interesting. Then my phone buzzed. Erica, we need to talk now. I told Ron phase 2 just moved up. When I got home, Erica was in my driveway, pacing beside her silver Audi. She wore jeans and a hoodie, which somehow made her look more dangerous than when she wore business clothes. She complained I could not have handled the gym scene quietly. I greeted her calmly. She said half the town saw it. She said Julia cried for 2 hours. I said Julia should have thought about that before trying to rob me and betray me publicly. I unlocked my front door and walked inside. I did not invite Erica in. She followed anyway, which told me she was desperate. She insisted we had a deal. I corrected her. She made an offer. I never accepted. She pointed out I took the flash drive. I told her I took evidence of crimes against me. That did not make us partners. Erica sat on the couch without permission and pulled out her phone. She said last night was only the opening. Then she showed me a live video call with Julia. Julia looked wrecked. Smudged makeup. Red eyes. Messy hair. Erica told Julia to speak. Julia said we needed to talk. I reminded her we talked at the gym. Julia said it was bigger than I thought. She said Erica documented more than financial records. Erica smiled and said she had my browsing history, emails, and even camera footage inside the house. Then Erica dropped a new bomb. She said Julia installed cameras in the bedroom 6 months ago. My stomach tightened. I kept my face calm. I said that was illegal surveillance. Erica argued it was community property, which was her usual way of twisting law into a weapon. Erica claimed Julia gathered evidence for divorce. She suggested she had material to embarrass me. She mentioned old girlfriends, private habits, and implied secrets. She was testing me. She expected fear. But the truth was simple. I had nothing like that to hide. So I told her to show me. If she wanted to blackmail me, I wanted to see the tools. Erica's confidence flickered. She tried to dodge. I called her bluff. Then I pulled out my phone and opened my own security app. I pulled up the footage of Erica in my office 3 weeks ago, photographing confidential documents. Crystal clear. I told her that was breaking and entering plus corporate spying and conspiracy. Erica tried to claim Julia gave her permission to be in the house. I told her Julia could not grant access to my business files. Those documents were protected by non-disclosure agreements. Erica's phone buzzed. She checked a message. Her face turned pale. I asked if there was a problem. Erica said Blake wanted Julia to leave. Gym sponsors were asking questions. That was quick. Blake's business lived on reputation. Public scandal is poison to a brand. Erica then tried another angle. She said Julia needed a place to stay, and the house was half hers. I told her Julia chose to leave. Erica warned Julia could accuse me of emotional abuse. I listed my evidence. Footage of her packing, bank records, recordings of plans to frame me. Erica grew quiet, thinking. Then she proposed a truce. She wanted me to pay Julia enough money to start over elsewhere, maybe another city. In exchange, Julia would sign papers and disappear. Erica wanted to return to her life like nothing happened. Erica suggested $50,000. I told her it was a lot for someone who tried to steal everything. Erica argued it was less than legal war costs. She was right about that. Divorce fights can drain years and money. But paying Julia off felt like letting her escape. I said I would think. Erica warned again that Julia met her lawyer the next morning. If Julia chose to go nuclear, peaceful resolution would close. After Erica left, I sat alone and considered. The smart move might be to pay Julia to vanish. But normal life with Julia was already poisoned. Normal included lies and betrayal. Normal included me being treated like a fool. Maybe it was time for a new normal. So I opened my laptop and researched Blake's business deeper. Apex Fitness was not just a gym. It was a franchise set up with investors, sponsors, and a board. Those people cared about image. Blake's personal account had thousands of followers, mostly local women. The business account pushed a family-friendly brand about health and values. Last night's audio was already spreading online. Someone posted video of Julia and Blake reacting in the gym. Comments ripped them apart. People canceled memberships. People mocked Julia's authenticity posts. I saved the worst comments and evidence. Then I researched Amanda again. Amanda was a pediatric nurse. Minimal social media. Family photos. Kids' school posts. Nothing flashy. She looked like someone who deserved the truth. So I found her work email through the hospital directory. I wrote her a message explaining I was Nick and I had information about her husband. I attached audio from the gym, the clearest clip of Blake and Julia discussing the affair. Then I hit send. After that, I called Ron again. I asked if he wanted to do late-night reconnaissance. Ron asked what kind. I said the kind with a camera and Blake's house. Ron said that sounded like stalking. I told him it was not stalking if we stayed on public property. I wanted to document Blake's reaction after Amanda learned the truth. Ron paused. He asked if this was bigger than just a cheating wife. I said yes. I wanted consequences to be real. Ron agreed, but only if we did it smart. No trespassing. No damage. No direct confrontation. I agreed. We met at Ron's bar to plan. Blake lived in an upscale neighborhood in a house too expensive for his lifestyle unless someone else helped pay. Either his gym income was higher than it looked, or Amanda's salary carried more weight than Blake admitted. Ron asked my endgame. I said public accountability. Blake and Julia tried to destroy my life. I wanted them to understand the cost. Ron warned there was no going back. He said once you choose this road, you become someone else. I said maybe that was not a bad thing. We parked across from Blake's house and waited. Amanda's practical car sat in the driveway. Blake's Tesla was not there. Near midnight, lights shifted. Amanda moved around inside. Then suddenly every light in the house turned on. I said she got the email. Minutes later, Blake's Tesla arrived. Blake moved fast like a man walking into danger. He did not reach the door before Amanda stormed out, still in scrubs, holding her phone like a weapon. Even from across the street, we heard her voice. She said 18 months. 18 months of lies. Blake tried to hug her. She shoved him away. Amanda called him out for laughing about her working double shifts while he paid for affairs and hotel rooms. Ron recorded. Amanda threw something at Blake. It looked like a ring. She told him to find somewhere else to sleep and find a lawyer. She slammed the door and shut off the porch light. Blake stood alone. The door locked. He knocked, pounded, then gave up. Ron asked where Blake would go. I said probably to Julia, except Julia had nowhere either. We followed Blake at a distance. He stopped at hotels, likely checking prices, then left. Finally, he parked at a 24-hour diner and sat in his car on the phone. I guessed he called Julia. Ron asked what now. I said now we go home and wait for their next move. Then we make ours. Driving home, I felt something I had not felt in months. Anticipation. The game was not ending. It was starting. The next morning, my phone blew up. 17 missed calls. Dozens of texts. Everyone wanted gossip. Many messages supported me. Neighbors said they always distrusted Julia. Clients told me to focus and not let it affect work. Even my old boxing coach sent a message saying I landed punches without throwing one. 3 messages mattered most. Julia said we need to talk, and this went too far. Erica said her offer expired at noon. An unknown number said it was Amanda Jensen, and she wanted to meet. I called Amanda first. Her voice sounded exhausted but solid. She thanked me for sending the recordings, even though she hated how she learned. She apologized. I learned my truth the same way. She said better late than never. She asked what she could do. I asked what she needed. Amanda said she wanted Blake to face real consequences, not just losing his marriage. She said Blake used their joint business account to pay for the affair, hotels, dinners, gifts. She said she had records. That was useful. In our state, adultery still mattered in fault divorces, and financial betrayal could affect settlements. I asked if she would document everything. She said she already started and had statements for 8 months. She said Blake spent over $12,000 on his girlfriend while Amanda worked overtime. I told her we could help each other. We planned to meet at Ron's bar that afternoon. Amanda had financial evidence. I had recordings and digital proof. Together, we could paint a clear picture of Blake and Julia. After that, I called my lawyer, David Chun. He handled my business contracts for years. He was discreet and ruthless when needed. David said he heard about the gym incident. He asked if I was okay. I said I was fine but needed to speed up divorce proceedings. David said Julia filed a motion for temporary support and exclusive use of the home. She also claimed I was financially abusive and emotionally unstable. They wanted a restraining order. I laughed at the irony. Julia tried to steal money and commit corporate spying, but she called me unstable. David warned family court judges often assume everyone is messy. I told him we would give facts. I explained Erica's flash drive, the recordings, and Amanda's evidence. David listened and said it was strong. He said if we proved Julia committed crimes during marriage, it could affect everything: property division, support, credibility. He said we might get an emergency hearing soon if Julia pushed for the restraining order. I told him perfect. David warned me to be careful, not to do anything that looked like harassment. He said let evidence speak. I agreed. Then I checked Julia's social media. She was losing followers fast. Comments attacked her. Sponsors backed away. Companies suspended her discount codes and partnerships. Her income collapsed in real time. Then my doorbell rang. It was Erica again, dressed professional, suit and briefcase, checking her watch like she was on schedule. I opened the door, but did not invite her in. I noted she had 15 minutes until her noon deadline. Erica said she had a final offer. She offered $25,000. Julia would sign a no-contest divorce agreement and leave the state. Erica promised I would never see them again. I countered. I said Julia faces criminal charges for corporate spying. Erica faces charges for breaking and entering. And I keep my money. Erica's mask slipped. She warned Julia was desperate, and desperate people do dangerous things. I asked if that was a threat. Erica called it a prediction. She said Julia planned to contact my clients and neighbors. Julia would claim I was abusive and unstable. I told Erica to let her try. I had recordings of Julia planning to frame me. Erica replied I would be surprised how convincing Julia could be. Then Erica pulled out a tablet and showed me something worse. Julia was live streaming. She sat in what looked like a hotel room, speaking to a camera with that serious influencer face. She told viewers she survived an abusive marriage. She claimed her husband used smart home tech to spy on her, control money, isolate her, and punish her for friendships. She claimed I humiliated her publicly. Erica said the stream was live on multiple platforms and had thousands watching. The comments supported Julia. People love a victim story, especially when it is polished. I watched Julia perform. She was good. She mixed vulnerability and strength like a product. But she also made claims that could be proven false. That mattered. I said she would regret this. Erica said last chance, take the deal. I said no. Erica walked away and warned Julia was only beginning. Right after Erica left, I called Amanda. I told her plans changed. I needed her now. Amanda arrived 20 minutes later carrying a box of documents. She looked like she had not slept. She said she watched Julia's stream and Julia was good at playing a victim. Amanda feared Julia would convince people I was the villain. I said then we show the truth. Amanda spread financial statements on my kitchen table. Hotels, restaurants, gifts, a pattern. Amanda pointed out Valentine's Day charges. Blake said he worked late, but he spent hundreds on dinner and a hotel. Amanda said she worked double shifts to pay for gym equipment while he spent money on his affair. We spent an hour organizing everything. Amanda said it was enough to destroy Blake in court. But she wanted more. She wanted public consequences. Then Amanda revealed something important. Blake had a corporate presentation the next morning. Apex Fitness tried to secure a contract with the Morrison Group to provide employee wellness services. That contract was huge. Blake was presenting to the board at 10. Amanda wanted to make sure the board knew who Blake really was. She wanted to send them the full package. Records, audio, proof of the scandal. I told her it could destroy his business. Amanda said good. She said he destroyed their marriage, so she did not care. I made calls. I warned there was no going back. Amanda said it was already ugly, and at least this way Blake would not be the only one doing damage. That night, I drafted an email to the Morrison board with careful language. I did not rant. I did not threaten. I gave evidence. If Julia wanted a public opinion war, I would fight with truth. The next morning, I arrived at Meridian Tower early. The Morrison boardroom sat on the 15th floor with huge windows. I had been there many times for security proposals. Today, I was there to watch Blake's world collapse. Janet Morrison, the CEO, called me personally after reviewing the evidence package from Amanda. She said they needed to discuss Apex Fitness before making decisions. I told her I wanted transparency about any conflict. I admitted Blake was the man having an affair with my wife. I said I did not want personal feelings to distort the evidence. Janet said the evidence stood on its own. The Morrison Group valued ethics and family image. They even had morality clauses for contractors. Blake's affair was personal, but his spending habits, dishonesty, and public scandal made him a liability. Blake arrived looking like he slept in his car. Wrinkled suit, messy hair, desperate energy. Julia was with him, dressed polished but strained. Her eyes kept checking her phone, probably watching her follower count and comments. Blake's business partner Trevor Walsh came too. He looked miserable. Blake saw me and asked why I was there. I said I was working. The building was a client site. Blake called it convenient. I said I would rather be anywhere else. Julia tried her public smile and said we needed to talk. I said everything seemed to be going exactly according to plan. Julia asked whose plan. I said hers. She wanted to destroy my life and run off with Blake. Julia denied it. I reminded her she tried to steal money, sabotage my business, and embarrass me. The only surprise was that I fought back. Blake tried to stop the conversation and said they were there for business. I said yes, and Morrison cares about character. Fear flickered in Blake's eyes. He asked what I did. I said I did nothing, but his wife provided records. Blake's voice cracked when he heard Amanda's name. Julia grabbed his arm and whispered they should leave. I told them it was too late. Janet Morrison stepped out of the elevator with board members. She introduced herself and told Blake they needed a conversation before the presentation. Blake tried to smile professionally. Janet said they received concerning information about business practices and personal conduct. She said they would address it privately. Then she thanked me for bringing attention and said they would handle it. As they walked away, Julia hissed at Blake that it was my revenge. But it was too late. They already decided before Blake arrived. I left and called Amanda. Amanda asked how it went. I told her Blake walked into the most humiliating meeting of his life. Amanda said he deserved it. She said she would meet her divorce attorney and get a strong settlement. She said Blake could find somewhere else to live. She was done. After that, I returned to actual work. Dave asked how I was holding up. He said clients still trusted us. Morrison even said my integrity during crisis increased their confidence. But Dave warned Julia tried calling smaller clients to plant doubt about our security. She had not succeeded, but she was persistent. I checked Julia's social media again. Her live stream had huge views, and she gained new followers. Some believed her story. But as details leaked, some people started questioning. Then my phone buzzed. Trevor Walsh wanted to talk. I called Trevor. He apologized. He said he did not know Blake was involved with my wife. He asked how much damage control he needed. He said Apex Fitness was his livelihood too, and Blake's scandal was destroying the business. I told him that was between him and Blake. Trevor said the Morrison contract was worth $200,000 a year. Without it, staff layoffs were coming. He said employees did not deserve to suffer because Blake cheated. Trevor then proposed buying Blake out of the gym, removing him from the company. He wanted a statement from me saying my issue was Blake personally, not the gym under new management. I agreed, but I demanded something. Blake must sign a non-disclosure agreement about Julia and me. No interviews. No stories. No public trashing. Trevor agreed and said he would also ensure Blake stayed away from Julia. After the call, I felt a different kind of satisfaction. Not only revenge, but control and cleanup. Then Julia called again. She said we needed to meet face to face, just us. I asked why. She said this went too far, and innocent people got hurt. Blake's staff, Amanda's kids, people caught in our mess. I reminded her I was innocent too. She wanted to meet at Murphy's bar, neutral territory. I agreed because Ron would be there, and it meant a witness. I arrived. Murphy's was dark wood, neon signs, and fried food smells. Ron polished glasses and pretended not to listen. Julia sat in a booth with coffee she did not touch. She looked smaller than before, worn down. I sat and told her she looked terrible. She said revenge looked good on me. I told her it was consequences. She asked if there was a difference. I said revenge is emotion. Consequences are logic. Julia laughed without humor. Then she asked what I wanted really. She asked what it would take for me to stop and let everyone move on. She said she and Blake wanted to start over somewhere else. I asked with what money. Blake's business was collapsing and Julia was broke. Julia said they would figure it out. I told her Blake was already learning she was more trouble than she was worth. Julia asked what I meant. I told her Blake kicked her out. Trevor was buying him out. Amanda was divorcing him. I asked what Julia brought to the relationship besides debt and drama. Julia's face cracked. She insisted Blake loved her. I told her Blake loved the fantasy of her, and reality was catching up. I asked when Blake last returned her calls. The The silence answered. Julia cried angry tears. She accused me of enjoying it. I admitted I enjoyed watching her face reality because she avoided it for years. Julia said she made mistakes, but did not deserve to lose everything. I reminded her she tried to take everything from me. Julia asked me to be the bigger person. That made me laugh. I told her I had been the bigger person for 12 years while she spent money, ignored needs, and planned escape. Julia called that unfair. I pulled out my phone and played one recording from the flash drive. Julia and Blake mocking me, calling me boring, calling me easy to fool, dreaming of spending my money. Julia reacted with horror and begged me to stop. I told her this was her authentic voice. The real Julia. Not the victim story. Not the wellness influencer. The person who did cruel things and felt no shame. Julia tried to say she was angry then. I told her no, she was honest. Julia asked what I wanted her to do. I told her to disappear. Leave town. Stop live streaming. Stop trying to rewrite history. If she refused, I would release everything. Every recording. Every stolen file. Every plan with Erica. Her followers would learn the truth. Julia stared at me and said I changed. I said yes. I said the old version was too easy to manipulate. Julia stood and said it was not over. I told her it was. She just did not know it yet. After she left, Ron brought me a beer. He said that was cold. I said she earned it. Ron warned me she had nothing left to lose now. That made her dangerous. I said let her be dangerous. I was ready. Ron shook his head and called it famous last words. He was right to worry. Cornered people become unpredictable. And the storm proved that. Tuesday night, a heavy thunderstorm hit. Rain turned streets into rivers. Lightning flashed like camera bulbs. I sat in my home office reviewing security footage and planning next moves. Julia had been quiet for 3 days, which made me uneasy. Quiet Julia was planning Julia. At 9:52, motion sensors caught movement in the backyard. Infrared cameras showed 2 figures approaching through the rain. One large, one smaller. Blake and Julia. I turned on the exterior floodlights and activated the intercom. I told them I could see them. I told them it was private property and they were trespassing. Blake looked up at the camera, rain running down his face. He said they needed to talk face to face. I told him we already talked and he did not like it. Blake said things changed. I said they looked the same. Cheater, liar, trespassers. Julia stepped into the light. She looked awful. Hair soaked, makeup running, clothes worn. She begged for 5 minutes. I asked what for. Julia said they wanted to make a deal. I asked what kind. Julia demanded we talk inside. I considered calling police, but curiosity pulled me. I also knew my security system gave me control. I agreed on my terms. Front door. Hands visible. They leave when I say. I met them at the front door with a chain lock on. Blake looked like a man who slept in a car for days. Julia looked afraid in a way I had never seen. Not fake fear, real fear. Blake said Trevor forced him to sell his gym share below market value. He had enough to leave town, not enough to restart. I told him congratulations, consequences. Julia said her influencer life was over. Her followers turned on her. Her comments were brutal. Again, consequences. Julia offered to disappear with Blake. New city, maybe even new names. She said I would never hear from them again. I asked what they wanted in return. Money. I laughed at the idea of paying them to vanish after they tried to ruin me. Blake said Julia had one more card. Julia pulled out her phone and showed me a video file. She reminded me about cameras in the bedroom. She claimed she had 6 months of private footage that could embarrass me. My stomach turned, but I did not show fear. I demanded she show me. Julia hesitated. She fumbled and opened a file. The clip showed me getting dressed for work. That was it. Nothing illegal. Nothing shameful. Nothing damaging. I told her she was bluffing and bad at it. Blake stepped forward. He told me to let them in. I refused. I told them to leave, or I would call police and release evidence of their affair and their betrayal. Blake's face twisted. He accused me of being a puppet master with my smart house. I told him smart enough to catch him. Smart enough to protect assets. Smart enough to destroy his business and marriage. Blake shouted that I destroyed his life. I corrected him. He destroyed his life. I simply made sure everyone saw. Then Blake snapped. He slammed his shoulder into the door. The chain lock broke. I stumbled back. Julia screamed for him to stop. Blake charged into my house and swung at me. He was bigger than me, maybe stronger, but he was sloppy. Anger makes people careless. I was trained. I slipped his first wild punch. I hit him with a quick jab to the body that stole his breath. He doubled over. I followed with an uppercut that snapped his head back. Blake stumbled but stayed up. He lunged again, slower. I sidestepped and used his momentum to slam him into the wall. He kept swinging, but his coordination was fading. I hit him with a clean combination, body, jaw, then another shot that dropped him to the floor. I told him to stay down. Julia cried and tried to help him up. She accused me of hurting him. I said he hurt himself. I said I did not make him cheat. I did not make him break in. I did not make him throw the first punch. I called 911. I reported a break-in and assault. Julia begged me not to. She said Blake needed medical help, not jail. I told her he would get both. While we waited, I saved security footage. Everything was recorded. Trespassing, forced entry, attack, my response. Police arrived within minutes, followed by an ambulance. Blake was dazed, likely concussed. Officers took statements. Julia tried to invent a new story, saying they were invited and Blake entered because he feared for my mental health, and I attacked him first. But footage did not support her. Evidence did not support her. Blake's scraped knuckles came from the wall. My injuries were minimal. The officers told Julia her version did not match reality. Blake was arrested at the hospital for breaking in, assault, and trespassing. Julia was warned about false statements, but not charged, since she did not attack me physically. After they left, I sat in my living room and looked at the broken door. It would need repair. The wall had scuffs. But the house was fine. And I was fine, at least physically. Emotionally, I felt something I had not felt in months. Closure. Blake would face real charges. His remaining reputation would collapse when word of an arrest spread. Julia would face life without Blake, without money, without her influencer image, and without anyone else to blame. My phone buzzed. Ron asked if I was okay. He heard there was excitement. I told him I was better than okay. I told him it was over. Not only Blake. The divorce. The whole thing. I poured a drink and sat quietly as the storm faded outside. Tomorrow I would rebuild. Fix the door. Meet with my lawyer. Focus on business. Start a new life without lies and fake peace. But that night, I allowed myself to sit in my smart home and feel the end of something terrible. Julia and Blake gambled everything on deception. They lost. Now they paid. As for me, I was done wearing the harmless mask. Underneath, I had always been the same person. Strategic, patient, and absolutely ruthless when pushed too far. It was going to be an interesting new chapter.